Andrea Clark from Detroit, Michigan, founder of Mothers of Murdered Children. Mothers of Murdered Children was formed in 2011, 3 months after I lost my only son. My son, Darnell Stephen Perkins, was executed. He was shot at 22 times and hit 12. 2 of those shots were to the back, and he was in a seated position, and there were no bullet holes in the seat. My son's body ended up on the ground from out of his truck, but the prosecutors and the police said that he wasn't shot in the back outside of his truck. My son was shot, executed by security guards, and I believe an off-duty police officer. It took me, I went into investigative mode immediately. I questioned everybody, as many people as I could find that was in the club that night. Because you see, my son didn't go to clubs because of the violence that occurred at those places. So for him to die at one was just something I needed to do. Like this didn't happen. So in my investigating, I uncovered a lot of inconsistency and untruths from the department. Well, the prosecutor ended up ruling my son's murder justifiable. They did this, they closed my son's case in 4 days.
Wow.
Why do they do that? So I hired a private investigator. I did everything I needed to do. I tried to hear from him because my son was funny. He was a jokester. Like he was the life of the party. He was the life of the holidays. He did the barbecuing. I can sit here crying and sharing something with him, and he'll tell a joke. Like, that chin looked like a raisin or something coming down. He would do stuff like that. So when I got the call that he was murdered, all I could think was, did he call out for me? He left 4 children here. He left 3 at first, but his wife was pregnant. When she found out she was pregnant 2 weeks after his funeral. My grandson, the last one from my son, was born at 6 months. He weighed 1 pound and 3 ounces. My son's wife said, I'm not gonna look at this baby. I said, we are gonna. This is what we have left. This is the one he didn't get to meet. So we have to be him for his son. So I asked God, how do I do this? What do I need to do? Because this is unreal. And God gave me the vision of Mothers of Murdered Children. I rejected it because I couldn't help myself. I very rarely tell the story of my son. I tell Rosa's story. I tell Colleen's story. I tell the other 84 mothers. I tell all their stories. I never talk about my son's story. This is a first of many, a very few times I've shared. And the reason I do that is because I carry their burdens. But let me tell you about MJE. It empowers me to continue this work. Because many days I want to give up. I was in the trauma and resilience class. And I'm so glad it was the last one. Because that's the one I'm going to carry back home. I have to take care of me to take care of them. I meet mothers at all levels of this process. But I have to stay centered. I meet the mothers who don't forgive or don't want to forgive. But I have to be right here in the middle. I have to share with them. I have to listen to them. And I have to say it's okay to feel the way you do. don't get stuck there. We're gonna grieve for our children for the rest of our lives. But MJE and MOMC are organizations that will give you that push, that step. Take one more step for your child. Whenever you feel like you want to quit, because we are the voice of those that speak no more. And I will forever continue the legacy of my son through Mothers to Murdered Children. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hearing these amazing stories. Wow. Wow. I'm Robin David, and I lost my son, my baby boy. His name is Willie. He's the youngest of 5. I'm a mother of 5. Wow. I don't know where to start. Willie was an amazing, bright young man, just like all these other boys that was up here. Sounds just like my Willie. He was a combination of all of your boys. And his bright smile, I miss it. I do miss his smile and his voice. Mom, are you up, Mom? Yes, Willie, I'm up. I remember on May the 3rd, and I got that call. Well, yes, May the 3rd, I got that call, was at church. And I was excited to be there. I had I'm a part of another organization, Red Hatters, and I was happy to be with my Red Hatter family, and got the call, and my baby girl says, Mom, Willie got shot. And it took my breath away, and I instantly got home and seen the tape. And my Red Hatter friend, I said, why they got that tape right there? She said, Robin, that's okay, that's just a part of it. I said, no, they're supposed to have that tape right there. And she said, it's gonna be okay, Robin. So when I got in there, my son was shot right in my backyard. He had gotten into an altercation. A young man came to our house, and actually me and my daughter had seen the guys hanging out down on the corner, but not knowing they had a gun. There was anybody there with a gun. And so we went on through our day. I went on to my program, and he was standing up for somebody. He was fighting for his little friend. He was taking up for a little guy that he was hanging out with. And they kind of looked up to Willie like Willie was the man. Like, okay, you ain't gonna mess with my friend. I was like, Willie, and Willie that day was so interesting, because that day before I went to church, Willie and my youngest daughter, we were all on the back patio, and he was like, Mom, I'm cutting them all loose. I'm not hanging out with him no more. I'm done. He was done being the guy that was going to take up for his friends. And he also had found out a few weeks before that he expected his first child. So I do have a grandson. And his girlfriend was there at the house. And he's like, Mom, he was working and he was finishing school. Well, he was a senior. And found out that he was having a little boy. He named his little boy. He gave him his name. And so he was ready to just focus on being a young man to take care of his child. We had that conversation. I told him, Willie, we're at this crossroad. Mommy was, I had became a life coach. I also have wrote a couple books. So I was like, my book is coming out, Willie, and Jada's graduating next year. We got all these great things happening. I'm so proud of you. Me and Mom are so glad that, me and Daddy so glad that you now realize that some of your friends, you need to cut them off, right? And he was like, yeah, Mom, you was always right. And so that was our last conversation. It was very, upbeat, and he was so focused and positive about moving forward. And so after his passing, the next morning, I just really just wanted to give up, and I didn't want to move forward on the tasks and the goals that I had already had in place as a certified life coach, the book, everything. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I heard God. I heard him say, come on, Robin, we need you. There's other women that need you. And we're here for you. And I seen this hand like reach out to me. And I was like, God, where am I going? Who are these women? I don't want to be in this club. I don't want to be in it. So my friend from church came over and she started giving me some natural foods and started helping me get stronger. And each day my aunt was one of my greatest supporters, and she said, Robin, you gotta stay focused, and you gotta stay fruitful and busy, and you gotta hang around the right people. And I said, you told me that when I was 12. She said, you didn't know what I was telling you at 12, but you know now. She said, you're gonna know what people to be with, and you stay focused. And I took that because my aunt was my mom's older sister, and she was always there telling me that there's something special about you, but you just gotta be with the right people. And so I took my goals and I said, I'm gonna do it, God. I'm gonna do it for Willie. I'm gonna do it because Willie wouldn't want me to cry, because he never liked for me to cry. God's like, Mom, what are you upset about now, Mom? You need to be smiling, Mom. You know, you always, like your son, would always want me to be smiling, and he always wanted me to be happy, and it's always important. I think our kids want us always feeling good about ourselves. And I think that's what Willie wanted me to. So I didn't cry much because I had the 4 other children, and you know, my family was there for me right after. So I got immediately on finishing my book. I became a collaborating author, and I started to do speaking engagements about love and forgiveness. I also started a group of women, which is called the Healing Gathering. And the Healing Gathering was based on, for women, my goal is to empower women to live in their truth. We all have our own personal truth, but it comes from learning to love ourselves and forgive ourselves and start to care for ourselves. See, sometimes I feel like God had already guided me here, but I didn't know that Willie was going to be the person that woke me up in my consciousness. I was existing, but I wasn't living. I was sabotaging myself from trauma of my childhood that I didn't even know that still was residuing into my own marriage and into my own children. You see, I had to really become courage. I had to be courage, not just say courage, I had to live courage. I had to every day have a self-care regimen for myself. Every day I said, Robin, it's okay. I love you. It's okay. I forgive you. Robin, it's okay. I forgive the young man instantly. That's why most people have me come do love and forgiveness speaking engagements for them, because God said right away, let that little boy go, Robin. Your life has changed and his has too. I don't know why me and that little boy had to come together in this type of form, the offender. I said, God, I don't know why this little boy came from Nashville. My son stayed in Murfreesboro. He never really traveled to Nashville. He'd been down there one time that I know of. And the little boy came out of nowhere. He was taken up for his cousin, which my son had fought. My son was shot in my backyard, fell on his back, and what the people tell me is once the little boy from the outside that was looking in at his cousin get into a despite with my son, he decided to go over to my son while he was laying on his back and shoot him on the side underneath his arm. When we flew him out to Vanderbilt, he had continuous bleeding. They couldn't stop the bleeding. And so from that day, moving forth to me was I had to start taking care of myself. I had to mentally see where did the breakdown come. Yes, I have husband, children, and God. I'm at church. I went to church twice that day. So I was like, okay, Lord, I was in the building, but wait a minute. What was I not connected to? And I was like, because I was at church in the morning, paying my tithes, worshiping you, trusting you with my children. And then I said, how did this happen? But I had to forgive myself, first of all, and I had to forgive the offender. I had to start praying for him because I realized his life will never be the same either. So I started the Healing Gathering so I could help women understand that we must self-care. We must have courage. And then God started to minister to me about love. He said, see, Robin, love is patient. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself, Robin. You have not been kind to yourself. You have not forgiven yourself. You've not been aware of your total responsibility of who you are. And I need you to be aware. Forgiveness, I believe, because my trauma started when I was a child, when my parents divorced, I believe we're not aware of how much trauma carries into our life, and it started showing up. And writing, when I started to write my books, writing taught me about me. I started to see the sabotaging that I would do. I would get so far and I would just sabotage. And I was like, what is that about? So it was an inner healing that God was showing to me. So I need you to heal. I need you to tell yourself that you're not those things that you used to feel about yourself, because it was also triggering in my son. I felt like as a woman, we are the heart of the homes. And if we're disconnected, we can go to church, pay your tithes all you want, shout, I speak in tongues. But if it's your assignment to be up here, you will. Because I thought nothing would have me like this, but he had to awaken my spirit. So I'm going to quickly say that I am also the founder of the Golden Foundation. And I'm still learning more about being a founder of the Golden Foundation. We did some things back home, and I got some things going. But because of this organization, I have a lot more information and a lot of other people that's going to help me grow the Golden Foundation in the memory of my son. And the Golden Foundation is real simple. It's to help families to have more self-love and self-acceptance in our homes so we can create stronger communities. Forgiveness is a choice. It's a process. It's an everyday process. And you have to trust God to allow the process to unfold. I am now also a part of the Game Changers for Life and Justice and Equality in Tennessee. Thank you for the Dandridge and their heart for people. Thank you for this program and all of you women here. Thank you so much. And that is who I am. I'm Robin David, and I'm healing day by day. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Lily Estes. I am from Richmond, Virginia, by way of Newport News. My son was murdered on July the 23rd, 2010, in a two-part process, which has become too phenomenal, which is he was assaulted on the 23rd, and I had to have him declared brain dead on the 24th. 5 months after that, his best friend was murdered after telling a bunch of people for 2.5 days that he was not going to rest until he found out who killed my son. And he was lured out of this apartment he was in on New Year's Eve and shot 16 times. And my son's birthday is July the 26th. So all of that culminated for me into how our young people carry so much hostility. And what I also come away with is that because I've been a person working in the community since my teenage years, 1975, 77, to now, that we as adults have not provided enough options for our children to make better choices. My son sold marijuana in the community that a lot of people would come in and wait for him, and he basically was interrupting the commerce of some other people in the community, and they lured him into the community on a day that he really wasn't going there, and shot him in the head and knelt down and shot him in the ear. And then there was a couple people that were involved in that, and they don't really know who the actual shooter was. But Virginia has a law that if 2 or more people conspire to do harm to someone, and if a death result, then that person can be charged with murder. And even under those circumstances, which they proved that they had lured him there because they had the phone records, the young man that they did bring to trial was acquitted. And then that ain't even the even more interesting part. The even more interesting part is that he befriended the young lady that lived downstairs from me, and now he lives downstairs from me.
What?
And that's been going on since 2011. So I see this young man on a regular, and so, you know, when you talk about forgiveness and all of those things, it's real, you know. And I mean, I've never really harbored a lot of anger toward people, and I found myself coming downstairs actually seeing him and smiling and saying hello, going on about my business, and he looks at me like, you know, why are you looking at me? You know, so I've been a strong restorative justice proponent for years. And, you know, God has allowed me to really, as the young lady said, Lisa, we have to live that. And that is very, very true. So in a lot of things that I do, you know, I call myself a community strategist, and I think that a lot of, you know, what has happened to us is community driven. So where I've evolved into now is utilizing the term that was conceived here in Boston by the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute, which is how I learned about Mona Lisa and Mothers for Justice and Equality.